My name is Samira Khalil. I am 41 years old. I was born in Marrakesh, Morocco. From the time I could speak, my life belonged to Allah. Every morning at 5 a.m., my mother would wake me for Fajr prayer. No exceptions, no complaints allowed. I was 7 when I memorized my first chapter of the Qur'an. My father smiled that day. He rarely smiled. "Good girl, Samira," he said. "Allah is pleased with you." By age 12, I had memorized half the holy book. Other children played in the streets after school. I sat with my grandmother, reciting verses until my voice grew hoarse. She would nod and say, "Perfect," again. The mosque became my second home. I wore my hijab with pride. I followed every rule. I prayed 5 times daily without fail. I never questioned anything. When I turned 15, the imam's wife asked me to help teach younger children. "You have a gift," she said. "Your recitation is flawless." I felt important, chosen, special. But late at night, when everyone slept, strange thoughts crept into my mind, questions I could not voice. Was this all there was? Memorizing words, following rules, hoping Allah would accept me? I pushed these thoughts away. Good Muslim girls do not doubt. Good Muslim girls obey. At 20, I became an official teacher at our local mosque. Parents brought their children to me. "Teach them like you were taught," they said. "Make them strong in faith." I did exactly that. I was firm, strict, perfect. But the questions never stopped. They grew louder each year. I told myself this was normal. Everyone must feel this emptiness sometimes. The key was to pray harder, fast longer, be more devoted. So I tried. I became the most dedicated teacher in our mosque. I never missed a single prayer. I covered myself completely. I followed every Islamic law without exception. Yet something inside me felt hungry, searching, waiting for something I could not name. I thought moving to America would help. A fresh start, new students to teach, new ways to serve Allah. I was wrong. The hunger only grew stronger. Houston felt different from Marrakesh. The buildings were taller, the air was thicker, but the rules followed me across the ocean. I found work teaching Arabic at a community center. 3 days a week. I also taught Qur'an classes at the local mosque. The imam there was stricter than my father. "Sister Samira," he said on my first day, "American Muslims need strong guidance. They forget who they are in this land of temptation." I nodded. I understood. The mosque community watched everything. How I dressed, how I spoke, where I went. They called it protection. I called it something else. Mrs. Amara lived next door to me. She was from Pakistan. Every morning, she would peek through her window to see if I left for Fajr prayer. If I was late, she would call, "Sister, are you sick? I did not see you at the mosque." I was never sick. I was never late. But she always watched. Brother Mahmoud worked at the grocery store I visited. He would check my shopping cart. "Sister, why do you buy this American cereal? We have halal options." I put the cereal back. I always put it back. The women at mosque spoke in whispers about those who had gone astray. They meant Muslim women who removed their hijab, who married non-Muslim men, who stopped coming to Friday prayers. "May Allah guide them back," they would say. But their eyes said something different. Their eyes said, "We are watching, we are counting, we remember." I taught my students the same verses I had memorized as a child, the same rules, the same warnings. But their questions were different from mine had been. "Teacher Samira, why must we memorize so many words we don't understand?" "Because Allah requires it," I would answer. "But what do they mean in our hearts?" I paused. What did they mean in my heart? I had memorized thousands of verses. I could recite them perfectly. But when I prayed, I felt nothing. Just words. Beautiful words, holy words, but empty words. One evening, I missed Maghrib prayer. I was grading papers. I simply forgot. For the first time in my life, I missed a prayer without being sick. I felt terror. And then, something else. Relief. I quickly performed the prayer. I asked Allah for forgiveness. I promised never to miss again. But that feeling stayed with me. That moment of freedom. I realized I was afraid all the time. Afraid of disappointing Allah. Afraid of disappointing my community. Afraid of the questioning looks. The whispered conversations. I was 30 years old. I had devoted my entire life to being perfect, yet I felt more lost than ever. The invisible walls around me grew higher each day. Years passed. I became known as the best Qur'an teacher in our Houston community. Parents would wait months to enroll their children in my classes. But inside, I was dying. Every morning, I would wake up and feel empty. I would perform my ablutions, spread my prayer rug, face Mecca, recite the same verses I had known since childhood. The words felt like stones in my mouth. I began to notice things I had never seen before. When I taught children to memorize verses about paradise, they would ask, "Teacher, how do we know if Allah loves us?" I would give the standard answer: follow the 5 pillars, obey the Qur'an, Allah will judge you on the last day. But their innocent eyes would look confused, afraid, just like I felt inside. One little girl named Aisha asked, "But teacher, what if I forget to pray one day? Will Allah send me to hell?" I saw myself in her fear. I remembered being 7 years old, terrified that one small mistake would damn me forever. "Just try your best," I whispered. It was not the Islamic answer. It was my heart speaking. At home, I began reading the Quran differently, not just memorizing, actually reading, trying to understand. I found verses about war, about punishment, about fear, so much fear. But where was the love? Where was the peace? I had been taught that Islam meant submission. Submit to Allah. Submit to the rules. Submit to the community. Submit your questions. Submit your doubts. Submit everything. But what about my soul? What about this aching hunger inside me? During Ramadan that year, I fasted perfectly. I woke before dawn for suhoor. I did not eat or drink until sunset. I prayed extra prayers at night. Yet I felt spiritually starved. One evening, I was walking home from the mosque after Tarawih prayers. The Houston streets were quiet. I looked up at the stars and whispered something I had never dared say aloud. "God, if you are real, I need more than rules. I need you." The words scared me. This was not Islamic prayer. This was something else, something dangerous. But I could not take them back. That night, I dreamed I was in a vast desert. I was walking and walking, but never finding water. I was dying of thirst. In the distance, I could see an oasis, but every time I got close, it disappeared. I woke up crying. The next day, I called in sick to work. I sat in my apartment and stared at my prayer rug. For the first time in my life, I did not want to pray. Not because I was rebellious, because the prayers felt hollow. I had memorized nearly the entire Quran. I knew Islamic law better than most imams. I had devoted 34 years of my life to being the perfect Muslim woman. So why did I feel so far from God? Why did my soul feel so thirsty? The hunger inside me was growing stronger. I needed something real, something alive, something that could touch the deepest part of me and say, "I see you. I know you. I love you." But I was afraid to keep searching. In my community, searching meant doubting. Doubting meant danger. Still, I could not stop the questions anymore. They were too loud, too urgent, too real. Something had to change. It was August 2017. Hurricane Harvey was approaching Houston. The news warned everyone to stay indoors, stock up on water, prepare for flooding. I thought I was prepared. I had food, candles, my Quran. I would spend the storm in prayer and meditation, but Houston was not prepared for Harvey. The rain started Sunday night, gentle at first, then heavier. By Monday morning, the streets outside my apartment were rivers. I watched from my window as cars floated past like toys. The water kept rising, higher, higher. By Tuesday afternoon, the water had reached my front door. "All residents must evacuate immediately," the loudspeaker announced. "This is mandatory." I grabbed my purse, my Quran, and my car keys. The parking garage was already flooded, but my car was on the second level. I thought I could make it to higher ground. I was wrong. As soon as I drove onto the main street, the current grabbed my car. The water was deeper than it looked. Much deeper. My engine died. The car began to float. I tried to open the door, but the water pressure was too strong. I tried the windows, but they would not roll down. The electrical system was dead. The current was pulling me toward the highway underpass. I knew if I got trapped there, I would drown. For the first time in my life, I was truly helpless. All my prayers, all my memorized verses, all my perfect obedience meant nothing in that moment. I was going to die. The water was seeping into the car now. Cold. Rising. Soon it would cover my head. I closed my eyes and did something I had never done before. I did not recite a verse from the Qur'an. I did not follow the Islamic way of facing death. I simply cried out, "God, help me, please." Then I opened my eyes, and I saw him. A man was walking on the water. Not swimming, not floating, walking. His feet touched the surface as if it were solid ground. The storm was raging around us. But where he walked, everything was calm. He was wearing simple white clothes. His face was peaceful, kind. His eyes held something I had never seen before in all my years of Islamic worship. Love, pure, unconditional love. He walked directly toward my car. The rushing water did not touch him. The debris floating everywhere moved aside as he approached. When he reached my window, he looked at me and spoke. His voice was gentle but clear above the storm. "Samira, do not fear." He knew my name. He extended his hand toward the window. I do not know how, but I was able to reach out and touch his fingers. The moment our hands connected, I felt a warmth spread through my entire body. Peace. Complete, overwhelming peace. The fear vanished. The panic stopped. Even though the water was still rising, even though I was still trapped, I felt safe. He spoke again. "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Those words penetrated deeper than any verse I had memorized. They went straight to that hungry place in my soul. Then he smiled. And in that smile, I saw everything I had been searching for my entire life. A rescue boat found me 20 minutes later. The paramedics said it was a miracle I survived. The car had been completely submerged. But I knew the real miracle was not my rescue. It was that he had come for me. The man who walked on water. I did not know his name yet. But I knew he was the answer to every question I had ever asked. He was real. He was alive. And somehow, impossibly, he loved me. I returned to teaching 3 weeks after the flood. Everyone at the mosque called me blessed. "Allah saved you, Sister Samira," they said. "You must be very righteous." I nodded and smiled. But inside, I knew the truth. It was not Allah who saved me. It was the man who walked on water. Jesus. I had started researching him secretly. At night, on my laptop, I would read about this Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Savior. Everything I read matched what I had experienced. He was love. He was peace. He was the way. But I could not tell anyone. At first, I tried to continue as before, teaching Qur'an classes, leading prayers for women, attending Friday services. But something had changed inside me. The verses I had memorized for decades now felt different, empty, dead. When I recited the Shahada, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger," the words stuck in my throat. I knew there was another God. I had met him. My students began to notice. "Teacher Samira, you seem distracted," 8-year-old Fatima said after class one day. She was right. While teaching them to memorize verses about Allah's judgment, I kept thinking about Jesus' gentle eyes, his unconditional love. How could I teach children to fear God when I had met a God who said, "Do not fear"? Mrs. Amara, my Pakistani neighbor, was the first to become suspicious. "Sister Samira, I have not seen you at Fajr prayer for several days," she said, knocking on my door one morning. The truth was, I had been spending my morning time reading the Bible instead. I had bought one secretly, hiding it under my bed. I have been sick," I lied. Her eyes narrowed. "You do not look sick." The next week, Brother Mahmoud approached me at the grocery store. "Sister, some people are talking," he said quietly. "They say you have been asking strange questions about other religions." My heart pounded. I had only asked one question, to a coworker at the community center. I had asked what Christians believed about Jesus. But in our community, even one question was too many. "I am just curious about what we are up against," I said quickly. "To better defend Islam." He studied my face for a long moment. "Be careful, sister. Curiosity can be dangerous." The surveillance increased. Mrs. Amara began timing my trips to the grocery store. Brother Mahmoud started showing up at my apartment unannounced. At the mosque, the imam called me into his office. "Sister Samira, your teaching has become soft lately," he said. "The children need to understand the seriousness of their faith. Fear of Allah is the beginning of wisdom." But how could I teach fear when I had experienced perfect love? "Of course, Imam, I will be more strict," I said. I tried. I really tried to go back to the old way. But every time I opened my mouth to teach about Allah's anger, I remembered Jesus' smile. One evening, I made a mistake. I was teaching a class about paradise when a boy asked, "Teacher, how do we know if Allah loves us?" Without thinking, I said, "God loves you right now. You do not have to earn it." The words came from my heart, from my experience with Jesus. But they were not Islamic words. The boy's mother was listening from the doorway. I saw her face change. She knew something was very wrong. That night, my phone rang constantly. Imam, community leaders, concerned families. "Sister Samira needs guidance," they said. "Her faith is being tested." The next day, 3 women from the mosque came to my apartment. "We are here to help you," said Sister Khadija, the imam's wife. "We know the flood was traumatic. Sometimes trauma makes people confused about their faith." They stayed for hours, reading Qur'an verses to me, reminding me of my duties, warning me about the dangers of American influence. "You have been such a good example to our community," Sister Khadija said. "Do not let Satan deceive you now." Satan. They thought my encounter with Jesus was Satan, but I knew better. I had felt his love. I had experienced his peace. Nothing dark or evil could create such light. After they left, I sat alone in my apartment and cried. I was losing everything. My position, my respect, my community, my identity. But I could not deny what I had seen, what I had felt, who I had met. Jesus was real, and he was calling me to follow him. The question was, did I have the courage to answer? The persecution was just beginning. I knew it would get worse. But for the first time in my life, I was not afraid, because he had said, "Do not fear." And I believed him. 2 months after the flood, I could not pretend anymore. Every morning when I woke up, I felt him calling me. Not with fear or demands, with love, gentle, patient love. I had been reading the Bible in secret for weeks. The words were so different from what I had known. Instead of endless rules, I found promises. Instead of fear, I found hope. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I was so weary, so burdened. I had carried the weight of perfect obedience for 34 years. The surveillance from my community was constant now. My phone calls were monitored. My apartment was watched. The imam had assigned Sister Khadija to visit me 3 times a week for spiritual counseling. During these visits, she would read Qur'an verses about the punishment of those who abandon Islam. She would remind me that leaving the faith was the worst sin possible. "Sister Samira, you were our best teacher," she would say. "Do not throw away your eternal soul for temporary confusion." But it was not confusion. It was clarity. For the first time in my life, I understood what God's love really meant. One Friday evening, I made my decision. I could not live this double life anymore. I waited until midnight. I knelt on my prayer rug, but not to face Mecca. I faced heaven. "Jesus," I whispered. "I know you saved me from the flood. I know you are real. I know you are God." My voice was shaking. This was the most dangerous thing I had ever done. I've spent my whole life trying to earn God's love through perfect obedience. But you showed me that love is a gift, free, complete, undeserved. Tears streamed down my face. I want to give my life to you, not because I have to, because I want to, because you first loved me. The moment I spoke those words, I felt his presence fill my room, the same warmth I had experienced in the flood, the same peace. But this time, it was not just for a moment, it was permanent. "Jesus, I surrender everything to you. My past, my future, my reputation, my community, my fear. Take it all, make me new." I stayed on my knees for hours, crying and praying, not reciting memorized verses, having a real conversation with a living God. For the first time in my life, I knew my prayers were heard. The next morning, I called the imam. I will not be teaching anymore, I said. Sister Samira, you are making a terrible mistake, he replied. Come to the mosque. We can help you. I am beyond your help now, I said gently. I have found what I was looking for. I hung up the phone. Within hours, the entire community knew. My phone rang constantly. Angry voices, threatening voices, pleading voices, but I felt only peace. That evening, I drove to a lake outside Houston. It was quiet there, private. I walked into the water until it reached my waist. Then I did something that would have horrified my old community. I baptized myself. I went under the water completely, remembering Jesus' words. I am the way, the truth, and the life. When I came up, I felt like a different person. Clean, free, born again. The old Samira, who lived in fear and worked for acceptance, was dead. The new Samira, who lived in love and rested in grace, was alive. I had lost everything my old life valued: position, respect, community, security. But I had gained something infinitely more precious. I had gained Jesus, and he was enough, more than enough. He was everything I had been searching for my entire life, and now he was mine, and I was his, forever. That was 4 years ago. Today, I live a completely different life. I moved away from Houston, away from the watching eyes and whispered threats. I found a small apartment in Austin, where nobody knows my story unless I choose to tell it. I work as a translator now, English to Arabic, Arabic to English. It is simple work, honest work. I help people understand each other across languages and cultures. But my real work happens on evenings and weekends. I visit refugee families. Many are Muslim women who have fled violence in their home countries. They are scared, confused, alone in a foreign land. I sit with them. I listen to their stories. I help them navigate American systems. I teach their children English. And when they are ready, when they ask the right questions, I tell them about the man who walks on water. Not all of them want to hear. Some get angry. Some report me to their community leaders. Some never speak to me again. But some listen. And some understand. Last month, a young woman named Layla gave her life to Jesus. She had been forced into marriage at 15, beaten by her husband, told by religious leaders that her suffering was God's will. When she heard about Jesus' love for women, she wept for hours. "You mean God does not want me to suffer?" she asked. "No," I told her. "He wants to heal your pain and give you peace." Now, Layla helps me reach other women. We are careful, we are wise, but we are not afraid, because perfect love casts out fear. My family in Morocco has not spoken to me since they learned the truth. My father sent one letter. "You are dead to us," it said. "We have no daughter named Samira." Those words used to break my heart. Now I understand they were necessary. The old Samira is dead. She died in the waters of that lake 4 years ago. The new Samira was born in Jesus Christ, and she has a new family now, a family of believers who love without conditions. I still face persecution sometimes, anonymous letters, threatening phone calls, men following me home from work. But I am not the terrified woman I used to be. When fear tries to return, I remember his words, "Do not fear, Samira," and the fear disappears. People sometimes ask if I regret my decision, if I miss the security of my old community, the respect, the predictable life. I do not regret it for 1 second. I spent 34 years trying to earn God's approval. Now I rest in his love. I spent 34 years memorizing rules. Now I have a relationship. I spent 34 years afraid of making mistakes. Now I am free to be human. Jesus did not just save me from drowning in that flood. He saved me from drowning in religion. He gave me life, real life, abundant life. And he is offering the same gift to you. If you are reading this and you feel that familiar hunger in your soul, do not ignore it. That hunger is God calling you home. If you are Muslim and you are afraid to take the first step, I understand your fear. I lived in that fear for decades. But on the other side of that fear is the most beautiful love you can imagine. Jesus knows your name. He sees your pain. He understands your questions. And he is waiting for you with open arms. Do not fear. Just come. He will do the rest.